India is entering a phase of strong economic growth and macro stability, but it is doing so in a global environment that is far more fragmented, volatile, and geopolitically charged than in the past. The Economic Survey 2025-26, released ahead of the Union budget, reflects this shift. It signals changes in how policymakers are thinking about growth, industrial strategy, fiscal discipline, and risk management, and raises important questions about how India should navigate a structurally altered global economy. I am Ankur Bhardwaj, web editor at Business Standard, and today we are going to unpack one of the most important policy documents of the year, the Economic Survey 2025-26, released by the government just ahead of the Union budget. To discuss what the Economic Survey is really saying, I am joined by K Bhattacharya, Editorial Director of Business Standard. Welcome, AKB.
Thank you, Ankur.
So, AKB, what do you think is the overarching message of Economic Survey 2025-26?
Well, the overarching message is that that the country's economy has managed to withstand the global shocks, uncertainties, and the risks, and looking ahead at a growth trajectory that is clearly 0.5 percentage point higher than what was earlier supposed to be India's potential growth rate. Earlier it was supposed to be 6.5% annual real growth rate. Now the survey points out their own calculations look at annual potential growth rate of 7%. As far as the growth rate for the next financial year is concerned, it gives a range between 6.8 and 7.2%, and the current years it reiterates the government's National Statistics Office saying it is 7.4%. So it's a growth message in light, in spite of, I would say, in spite of the global challenges and the uncertainties that the economy faces.
Would you say the survey is more focused on managing risks than maximizing growth?
Well, I think it's both. It makes no secret of its concerns that external challenges are very, very strong. It points out that the global investment flows, whether it is foreign direct investment or whether it is portfolio investment, whether it is a question of how you sustain India's exports, these are all our challenges, and therefore it focuses on the need of what needs to be done and how quickly we can exploit what the survey sees as the inherent potential of the economy.
So what would you say is the single most important signal that it sends to policymakers?
Well, I think it is a message not so much to the policymakers, but it is a message to India Inc. The message to India in industry is that they better be more competitive. There is a message to India Inc. is that the answer to India's growth challenges does not just lie in the services sector, but also in the manufacturing sector. From the policy point of view, the message to the government, if I may say, is that a time has come where the policy cannot just talk about just services, but also needs to focus its energies on manufacturing. The government must also realize that it must make a conscious choice between what I would call supporting policies, supporting industry, and protecting industry. There is a difference between protecting industry and supporting industry. And I think it says that time has come where you cannot just support industry, but also you need to consider how you need to do some selective protection only, which is an indication of a little bit of opening up, I would say, in the current context.
The economic survey also seems to signal a shift in India's industrial policy. How would you characterize this change?
I was referring to that, what you just now asked, is that the what we have seen in the past few years is domestic industry has been given protection through tariffs or even through the quality control orders, which are non-tariff protection, I would say. Now, the survey categorically mentions that many of the quality certificate orders need to remain dormant. It also says that you must focus more on export competitiveness in a world where everything has been, whether it is tariff or whether it is free trade agreement even, has been sort of weaponized. So I think it's a call for a little more open approach to policy making, where it is not just a question of supporting industry through PLIs, but also to make sure that the Indian industry and the downstream industries particularly can become more competitive with lower tariffs.
So moving away from protectionism to competitiveness, well, throughout 2025 we saw this chatter about India recalibrating its quality control orders regime. Would you say the economic survey kind of makes it more explicit?
Not just explicit, I would say that it urges the government to make a clear choice on this matter, because it is actually underlining the importance of how productivity gains, how foreign investment or investment within the country can be enhanced by these support mechanisms, as well as making the industry more competitive through tariff rationalization.
Another point is that the economic survey is unusually direct in its assessment of state finances this time. Would you say the tone is a little sharper?
Well, I think it's very defensive there, and critics would say that an attempt has been made to shift the blame onto the states. And what is happening is that the survey rightly takes pride in the fact that the centre's fiscal management has been good, which is true, but it says that because the states have been little irresponsible, therefore the sovereign risk management has come under a bit of pressure. Now, this is a debatable point, and this will, I'm sure, this is one area of the survey which will be debated over the next few weeks, if not months.
Would you say that this is more about fiscal discipline or about how markets and investors perceive it?
Well, the official argument here in the survey is that the foreign investor or investor per se does not just look at the central fiscal positions. It also looks at the entire government fiscal position, and when the states indulge in some fiscal indiscipline, whether it is through some cash transfers or freebies without properly providing for in the books, then it impacts the sovereign risk. I mean, an example the survey cites is that how the Indian government, which enjoys a similar sovereign risk profile that of Indonesia, but in Indonesia the yields are lower, whereas in India the bond yields are higher. And the reason the survey notes is that because the state's indiscipline is impinging or influencing the investor's opinion of how India as such is faring. So therefore, it essentially underlines the need for the states to be more fiscally responsible.
Would you say that this points out the limits of populist fiscal strategies only at the state level?
I think it's the message here may be directed at the states, but the message is even for the center. In this case, the center, I would say, in the last few years, couple of years, particularly after COVID, has performed quite well in bringing down its fiscal deficit from 9.2%, and probably it will bring it down to 4.4% of GDP, and it is now moving on to a new debt anchor. So these are all positive signs, but this message in the economic survey, you are right, also underlines the need for the center to stay on the path of fiscal prudence and transparency.
The economic survey repeatedly emphasizes the need for stability and resilience. Now, over the last 2 decades, stability has not really been a concern for Indian policymakers. What do you think this indicates?
I think the survey is pointing out that the stability issue has largely arisen from what's really happening in the globe. I mean, whether it is a question of wars being fought in different parts of the world, whether the world's the biggest economy in the US is using tariffs as a weapon, and being little unpredictable as well. So I think the stability issue is largely pitched as a kind of challenge which is coming from outside. Within the country, the domestic economy, I think the survey clearly mentioned that how adequately it has steered the growth mechanics in the country. But as I told you earlier, it is little worried about exports front. It does not say it explicitly, but it's the data points that it brings out in one of the chapters shows that the net foreign direct investment is also not maintaining a healthy trend. So I think the survey recognizes these external challenges and therefore underlines the need for the domestic economy and domestic policy making to take the necessary steps. Is actually, if you ask me, this economic survey puts a lot of pressure, I would say, on the union budget that will be presented on 1st of February. I mean, for example, you talked about manufacturing sector. Now, clearly, what the budget does on reviving the manufacturing sector, which creates jobs, and how the manufacturing sector can become more export competitive, and how the kind of the state grants are given to states which are not following fiscal discipline. So all these areas, the budget will be closely watched.
Does this emphasis on stability suggest less room for policy errors than before?
I think even in the best of times, there is not much scope for policy errors, and in a situation where we are facing external challenges of the magnitude that we are facing right now, I think the scope for policy error is even less.
And in the long term, do you think this suggests a gradual growth path?
Well, if you see that the potential growth path that has been outlined in the survey is 7%. Now, gone are the days when you would see a growth path of maybe 8%. Nobody is talking about a 9% growth path anymore. So we are actually calling 7% growth path is what seems to be achievable in the near next few years. So it has gone up from 6.5% to 7%. So that itself tells you that it is not, survey is also realistic in that sense, that it presents a picture of what probably is achievable.
In a world where artificial intelligence has become a major economic force, what does the survey say about how India should approach it?
I think it outlines the various the different sectors which has embraced AI. It presents a broad scenario of what needs to be done and how AI has already been embraced by a large segment of the Indian economy. So therefore, the broad message that I drew from that specific chapter is that time has come where you cannot turn away from AI. You have to take necessary steps by which how you can embrace it without the challenges it otherwise faces. This survey, since you talked about AI, which is a new chapter in the survey, it also talks about a very important element which you will remember, not directly but indirectly, I would say, that the former chief economist of the IMF raised, which is about how pollution can create problems for our India's growth prospects. Now, this survey doesn't have a chapter on pollution, but it is a chapter on urban planning, urban growth. Right. So it's touching upon an issue that how do we grow our cities, and how do you grow our cities without creating harmful gases all around. So I think the survey, I would say, is in that sense is a very realistic survey.
But do you think it veers towards caution or towards optimism when it comes to AI?
I think on AI it's a mix of the two. I think it's both cautious as well as it says that it's a reality that we cannot shy away from.
If you had to distill one message for policymakers from Economic Survey 2025-26, what would it be?
I think government cannot stay away from facing up to the challenges of governance through the right necessary policies. And actually, this survey quotes Mariana Mazzucato's recent essays on where the government's entrepreneurial spirit has been lauded. Now, this survey also extols the virtues of an entrepreneurial government, which is not a commercialized government, but a government that looks at risks from an entrepreneur's perspective and takes proactive policy steps. And that, to my mind, probably what really stands out in this survey, that instead of being a bystander and reacting to developments as they take place, you act like an entrepreneur and take preventive steps and how you manage those risks.
And one message for businesses and investors?
You better prepare yourself to be more competitive. Do not complain about lower tariffs, because it is lower tariffs that will make you more competitive, not just your competitiveness, but your country's competitiveness in a country, in a world where uncertainties are growing by the day.
Thank you, AKB.
Thank you for having me.
The Economic Survey 2025-26 offers a candid assessment of India's economic prospects at a time when the global order is undergoing structural change. As this conversation shows, the survey is as much about managing risk and preserving stability as it is about sustaining growth, a shift with important implications for policymakers, businesses, and investors. For more analysis and coverage of the Economic Survey and the Union Budget, visit businessstandard.com.